Okay, well, Instagram's not working. Hi, everybody. We're going to play a video. Welcome, everybody, to this conversation I'm really excited to have with my special guests, Christine and Donna. A little backstory about where this conversation came from that I'm so excited for you guys to hear. It's, these two beautiful women are hosting me for a 3-day body class in Montreal. And do you want to just say hi first? Do you guys want to like shout out, say hi first? I'm sorry.
Howdy, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Hello. And we started
talking.
You
Just
guys
add a little language to your stuff. You know?
I like it. It makes it nicer. Basically, in creation, we've been having parenting conversations, and they've been coming to my monthly parenting calls. And so we get into a conversation about an adventure that they went on with one of their children. And I was like, the world needs to hear this because you guys were hilarious and phenomenal as parents. So I just wanted to give that little backstory before we dive in. How would you guys start this one? Let's give a backstory of your relationship and all of the babies.
We don't have that kind of time.
Yeah, this is the short little thing.
I'll do the backstory. Okay,
You do the backstory.
It'll be super quick. So we met online. We were both married to men, and we were friends. And we were friends for a very short time, and then realized that we were more than friends. And actually, Donna's ex-husband realized before we did that there was something there. And then we went through a really caring, nurturing, no anger, no frustration, no problem breakup with our ex-husbands. That's a lie. But there's a lot of truth. There's a lot of truth. We still get along pretty well with both our ex-husbands. And we ended up, Donna decided that why not Montreal, and brought all the kids up here. She has 4, I have 3. So together we have 7. And we've been writing that story for a really long time. And part of the backstory is that Donna's biological 3 older boys are on, like, we have 2.5 on the spectrum, 1 officially diagnosed, and then all 7 are weird, and they love us. So we're allowed to say that. And especially the neurotypical ones who don't want to be called out at all. But the journey with us, and what we'll talk about sometimes today, is I got thrown into having kids with special needs, and I consider them all my kids. And Donna was already dealing with that with her ex-husband of having kids who were diagnosed and on the spectrum. And it's been an adventure learning their language to get them to do what we want. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Sure, that happens. Do this. Right over there. No, I said this way. Yeah. And that's literal and figurative. Let's go this way. No.
So it's like, what I love with you guys is that it's like there's such an invitation, whether you know it or not, to what it looks like to just create with chaos and play and use the tools of access consciousness, have the fun that you guys have together. And so what I would love to talk about is our friend Ben.
Yeah.
And Ben's, let's go story time with Ben's adventure. And then I will ask more questions as we go along for how you guys showed up so brilliantly to have his back. So once upon a time, you guys take it from there.
Okay, so do you want the short version of the story and then we'll elaborate on how we access tooled it, or
I think we
just so everyone knows where it's coming, or do you want it to just
I think we tell it like we always tell it, which you got a phone call that he had lost his wallet.
So Ben texts that's actually his best mode of communication. Spontaneous communication, not really good, but texting, brilliant. So we have taught him that whenever he goes out being autonomous in the world by himself, he texts every step of the way, on the 4, on the metro, etc., etc., etc. So I had gotten the text saying where he was, and I, just because it happens every day, I'm thinking, I haven't gotten a text saying he's left. What's going on there? So I check, and I'm like, are you still there? And he texts, yeah, Mom, she took my wallet and I can't get it back. And I'm like, what? Who? So on the phone, call him, well, she took my wallet and now I don't have it and I want to get my wallet back. Now, mind you, there's nothing really in his wallet. I think he had a total of $29, and that's 10 of that was his special, $10 emergency money. So I'm like, okay, walk to a police officer or a bus, a metro person, and let me talk to them. So he finds a lady. He gets on the phone. I explain the whole story. Ben is autistic. I'm not worried about anything that might have been in the wallet except his med card, because that's a nightmare to have to get replaced. And, maybe if you can find the wallet, awesome. It's a gift from his dad. So maybe there's some sentimental whatever. He said, okay. So he says, this is what happened. The man saw, and she says, well, show me to the man. So I'm on the phone walking through. Here's the guy. She says, you know what? I'll call you back once I know what's happening. Okay, fine. So I'm waiting. Meanwhile, house phone rings. It's all in French. So I'm like, I can't listen to the message. Christine, listen to the message. Listen to the message. And it sounded like I heard Ben's name when I listened. I'm like, it's got to be something with Ben. So I immediately think, woman who took his wallet realizes there's no money in this wallet. Maybe if I call for a reward, right? So Christine listens, calls the number back, and it's one of the STM people, because an elderly lady had found the wallet. And she said, oh, I found it, and I wanted to make sure he got it back. Okay, awesome. So we tell that story. So then the officer from the metro calls me back, and she says, okay. She said, we figured everything out, what's going on. The lady has brought his wallet back, so he has his wallet, and the Montreal police will call you to verify what's happening, but everything's good. He's got his wallet back. And I'm like, okay. So I asked him, so she puts him back on the phone. I'm like, are you okay? Everything's good? He says, yeah, I got my wallet back. The girl was into handcuffs. And I'm like, oh, okay. The just they were going to try to find it. Well, Kari, come home. So he comes home, and I have to know what's going on, right? So he comes upstairs. Conversation ensues. Then, so what happened with the wallet? This is why I got off the metro, and I saw the girl. And I'm like, okay, what did the girl look like? She's beautiful. Ben, she was black. I'm like, okay, Ben. So what happened?
So I have to interject that Ben really, really, really has a thing for black women. So
yes,
that we knew there might be more
which is
to
fine,
the story.
but
and we're fine, but
don't leave that part out, Ben. Let's be honest, right? Okay. So I said, okay, and what happened next? She says, give me your wallet. And I'm like, Ben, and he goes, I said no. I'm like, oh, well, that's good. Okay. So then what happened? Well, she gave my wallet to the man. I'm like, hold on, we're skipping a step. How did she get your wallet? So this takes a little bit of back and forth. Ben is on the spectrum, so you got to kind of, okay, Ben, remember where we were, get back to that. So back and forth. So, we're going through, Christine's now come out.
Wait, can
So
we,
said, okay.
How old is Ben? How old is Ben?
Ben will be 27 in July.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And so Ben has all of the normal functioning desires and wants and needs of a 27-year-old man who actually is more like a 17-year-old, right? And who functionally works at about 12. So it gives kind of everybody a little bit of context of what he is. So he's very simple. It's very basic, the way that he works, but it's also there's a pureness behind it that's just kind of adorable, and you just want to hug him. And in the same moment, you want to just go, wake up, right? At the same time. So, and it works super well if you make him act out and do scenarios as well as writing. So I said, okay, so I'm the cute black girl. And he goes, you're not. Thanks. Wonderful. But
got it, Ben.
normally
Pretend.
it works. So now he's getting into character. So Donna can.
So
ask
now we
him the
got
next
him in
question.
character, and I'm observing, and Christine is, our beautiful Black woman. I said, okay, Ben. So you come off, and Christine says, give me your wallet. And he says, no. And I'm like, okay, that's good. So what happened next? Well, then there's a pause. Ben, then she what? Then she said, do you want to fuck me?
Yeah.
Okay. And then what did you do? I said, yes. I'm like, okay. Allowance is all I'm hearing in my head. I'm just like, allow. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Yes. There's a lot of okays and high pitched voices happening. Okay. All right. So you said yes, and then what happened? She said, give me your wallet. I said, and what did you do? I gave her my wallet. And I was like, okay. All right. And then what happened? Now, I don't know how graphic you want this to get, but if we're going all full bore, all right.
Good.
He said, she took out a condom, took out my penis, put the condom on the penis, and sucked my penis. And I went,
And I'm beside her. This is not affecting me in the same way, right? We have different. So a tiny backstory. When he was 13 or 14, he wanted to have sex on a motorcycle. Like that was his thing. And he talked about it all the time. And Donna left for something. She comes home and he's like, I'm never going to have sex on a motorcycle. And the minions are not real. Like in the same sentence. And Donna looked at him. She goes, you have to pick one. You have to pick one. I can deal with one, but I can't deal with both in the same time. It blows.
That's where the 12, 17, 20, that's where all that comes in.
It's so
Sometimes
much
it happens all at once.
Yeah.
Okay, so he got it. Okay. And I'm like, all right, so it's not terrible. It's not terrible, right? So what happened next? Then she pulled me over to the side, took my pants, and fucked me against the wall. And I'm like, right there in the metro? Yes. Okay. So where did the man come into how did he get your wallet? He says she just gave it to him. I'm like, so the man was right there while the against the wall? Yeah. He said yes. I'm like, okay. And what happened next? He said, well, she left. And I went, so how was it? He said, yeah. And I pulled up my pants and then I didn't have my wallet and I couldn't find my wallet. And then, you texted me and you called me. And I'm like, okay. So that's right. Okay. So then we go through this whole thing, deep breaths, fine. We send Ben on his way. And I'm just like, I can't talk. I don't even know what I'm supposed to say now. And Christine says, well, the thing, whatever, this, that. So the police call and they say, okay, we've had problems with this girl before. This sort of thing happens. Like, well, Ben mentioned something about her in handcuffs. Well, yeah, but prostitution is not illegal in Montreal. And we were like,
solicitation is
awesome. And he says solicitation is. So Ben didn't ask. He did not solicit sex from her. He's fine. And we're like, awesome. He says, we can get the video footage from the metro if you want us to find the wallet as an issue. And now, like, wife and I are like, she's on the phone because it's a very French officer. She's on the phone and she's like, the video footage from the metro? And I'm like, no. We don't. No, we do not need the video footage.
Well,
because
and
that's going to open a whole other
can of worms.
Worms, right? And now it's not just about this little wallet thing. Nobody cares. He got it back. All his cards were in it. Everything was fine. Why do we want to rip the lid off of that? No, we're good. He's got his wallet. It's all fine. It's all fine. And then he comes home and we're like, okay.
I want to just interject one tiny thing.
Yeah.
That the police officer, actually all of Montreal, and we're very privileged in that they are all doing awareness campaigns about autism, about special needs. So our family's been part of the South Shore. The Longueuil is like the big part of the South Shore, and their head guy, chief something, he I don't know, that's really bad, I should, but he's been doing a program to integrate all the different types of situations that the police officers can hit that they're now being required to deal with, that have nothing to do with law, but this kind of situation where they're called in. It's like, so this police officer was quite aware, and he was, the video, because solicitation is the illegal part. Your kid's fine, but there's other rules that he might have broken that we might find on this video that involve skin being exposed or stuff,
in the metro,
and in the public, which is, and so he's not telling you not to do it. He's not allowed, but they were the language was like, that's maybe not where you want to go. He also said that they filed, like an awareness report, which I thought was kind of interesting. It was the word that he used, so that if something like that happens again, the officers kind of know that Ben maybe needs a bit more help and guidance, so that whereas if he gets a police officer who's not as aware, who thinks that he's the responsible one, it would be a problem.
Right.
So, yeah.
So we were all cool. And then we're like, well, now we have to have a conversation with Ben about what happened. We made it through the conversation, and I thought we handled it very well, because normally, a year and a little bit ago, before we were really, really using the access tools, I think I would have just, I can't even think what I would have there would have been no little voice saying, allowance, just listen, just ask questions. It would have been, you what? There would have been a lot of that. So that was good. And so we have to call up and have this conversation now about, I say call him up because he's one of the basement trolls. Our finished basement has 4 of the kids live down there. So we had to call him up and have this conversation to make him aware of, while the act itself was fine. Okay, maybe not my first choice in how you lose your virginity, but hey, your first choice, cool.
And the price, you can't beat the price.
And you can't beat the price, $29, right? And that's probably like what, 22 US. Really, like you can't get
like 15 US.
You can't get a good meal at In-N-Out Burger for $22 really now, right? So
actually, that's what your ex-husband said on the phone, right? When we called him to let him know something happened, he's like, which intersection was this, and how do we get that?
Which metro station was that in? Was that a usual?
How do I create that deal? And like the actualization of what he had been asking for,
yes,
like created for him.
Yeah.
And what I love, and I want to get to, now you have the story with him, but what I would love to point out is, like you said, like with the access tools, you can have something like this show up. What I love about you guys, period, and just in life, is how easy it is for you to go to the comedy. Like that's a lot of fun to interact with. Because so much of what parenting actually is hysterical if we're willing to allow it. Like I can't believe I'm sitting here listening to this story, or that this actually happened, or this person is taking this so seriously. But it's when we stop taking it so seriously, we can have way more fun with it. And so I just wanted to like kudos to you for that. So go ahead. Let's finish.
I'm going to let her finish in a second, but I have to interject again. So one of the things that I found interesting is when we were telling the story after, one of the major concerns was the safety issue. And I didn't cross my mind until I realized it had crossed my mind, until he said, and she took out a condom. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. That's so good. Like I didn't know that was a big stress for me, health and all that stuff. And and it hasn't fallen off since, so we're okay. So it hasn't fallen off.
He hasn't mentioned anything weird.
Yeah, and he would have mentioned it. He's mentioned it.
Oh my God, I thought you were telling me that the condom hasn't fallen off since.
No.
No.
The actual penis is fine. Everything's still functional. No, the
still
condom,
intact.
he took care. Everything is good. He knows how everything works. But one of the things is their concern, but there's this curiosity that he was able to create that with such ease. And that's one of the the amazing things when you look at autism as a gift, which we managed to do. It sounds like so often, but it's more like 6% of our day. The other 94 were like, would you just get it? You know, like, why are we repeating this? But afterwards, I had the conversation with the situation and his social worker, and it was incredible. I don't know that we would have had such a good interaction for him to be able to be comfortable in it. And he automatically associates the word consequence with wrong, automatically. And his voice will, no, and this. And now it's like, so she says, so what happens if another person asks you in the metro if you want to have sex with them? And he goes, I say yes. Where's the hotel? Like, that's the question now, you know? So, and then getting him to that, that's Donna's amazing at that. She has so much patience, because I deal with the everyday and the school and the work. So my patience isn't always at the ready for Ben. But when I sit next to her and I watch, I just sit there and go, oh my God, that's incredible that you're not killing him and shooting him and doing all of this stuff. And she really, really, there's a lot of that, not making him wrong. And you'll do that about looking at the choice, you know, this is the choice. You drank out of a plastic bottle. Was this a good choice? And you'll use that object, and working through that without these tools, I'm not sure that we would have survived the same way with the relationships evolving as they get older. And that's a gift for me.
So cool.
I mean, I also had Ben from the beginning. So I had that whole process of him banging on plate glass windows because he couldn't express himself well enough to say, Daddy left without saying goodbye, or, but I want to go to the pool now. And I had the experience of Ben, you know, you live in California, you know where Huntington Beach is?
I do.
Okay, we lived in Garden Grove. We lived
I grew up in Garden Grove.
That's where we lived when Ben was, we were really close to the entrance to the 401 Garden Grove on Linwood Place. It's this little tiny cul-de-sac with like 17 houses. Yeah.
Was it off Valley View?
Oh gosh, 20 years ago. Really,
Okay.
Sarah? Maybe. It was like less than 8 minutes from Disneyland. That much I remember, because that was the thing. And Ben decided, we used to play this game where when we would go for walks, he would like go the car ahead and he'd like hide behind the car and he'd jump out. So I was on the phone. I was the president of our homeowners association. So I was on the phone with somebody and he came out and he said, Mommy, play. I said, just 1 minute. So talk, turn. And I didn't see him. I'm like, oh, he's hiding. I got to go. Get off the phone, walk up to the car. I was with 2 of my neighbors, walked up to the car. He wasn't there. Walked up to the next car. He wasn't there. So I looked at them and I went, can you go in? Because by this point I had a baby and my older son, but not old enough to stay with the baby. I said, okay, can you just go into the house and sit there because the baby's in there? Okay, fine. So I walked to the next car and I get to the end of our block and there's no Ben. And now I'm like, where did he go? He was 4, maybe, and maybe 3, maybe. And the truck comes by and says, you looking for a kid? I said, yes. He said, get in. I didn't question, in the car. Drove me up another 2 blocks to the entrance to the 401. You know the 401. On ramp to the 401. 4 lanes in each direction. And my kid is in the middle of the on ramp because he wanted to go to Disney and he remembered that that's how we got there. 401 to the next exit. I'll come down. Right. We never went that way again. But so he's on and I'm standing on the
remembers. He still remembers.
He still remembers.
Absolutely.
And I'm standing on the corner of the street and there's cars and they're beeping and whatever and cars. And I can't move. I'm frozen. I don't even know what to do. And I'm like, if I call him and he runs, will he run up? Because I definitely don't want that. You know. And then a man went over and he said, hey, Ben, I got your mom. And walked him back over to me. I said, thank you to the man. I didn't even see the guy in the truck again. Never saw. So now I'm walking back. What was that about, Ben? I wanted to go to Disneyland. I'm like, yes, but I said we had to wait for Daddy to get, this conversation is happening. And I didn't make him wrong then. Looking back now, I didn't make it wrong. I said, well, that scared Mommy. And Mommy would really appreciate it if you didn't run off like that. I mean, I'm talking to a 3-year-old with autism. I don't know how much of it he's getting anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was fun with Ben growing up. It's crazy.
It's been an amazing learning curve for me. So he was 12 when I met him, and he actually, when I first met him, he thought I was cute because he did this move on the couch and put his arm around me. Right, that was the first day I met him, and he was like, "Hi, I'm Ben," like that. It's like, what is happening?
You know, it's a problem right there.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but he's always been
Yeah.
that, and what she talks about, his sense of direction and his memory, it's one of his amazing tools. So if you can look at the way that he progresses and uses that now in all of his activities, he's always the travel leader. He knows how to use all of the stuff. And when he was younger, he would say, I'm going back to the United States and Canada doesn't work for me. And Donna wasn't worried. Now she's starting to consider that he might be able to do it because
he could actually figure it out.
He could figure it out and travel and do his stuff.
Which is why
that's
I
why
have
we
his
hold
passport.
his passport. Yeah, I was gonna say that's
so he can get to the border, but he's not going any further.
He's not going any further.
Yeah.
So that kind of joy with him and getting him to be able to reach in and tap and not feel wrong when he tells us, although you can hear in his voice that, like I said, he'll say penis, you know, and he. Like it should be a bad thing. And he associates that. And part of Access has been to really change the definition of the consequences, using the word consequence, because a consequence doesn't have to be right or wrong, heavy, light, whatever. It's just, what do you want? So this week he got a ticket for crossing the street on a red light. Nobody I've ever heard of has ever gotten a ticket. I mean, a jaywalking ticket, but I've never heard of this. And he got this ticket, and it wasn't about, do you know how to cross the street? And we talked about it. Your awareness was maybe it saved his life. In the future, he'll be paying attention. And but for us, we talked about it. You've been crossing the street for 10 years. Like, you know how to do it. Somebody has a rule somewhere that there's money associated to doing this if they catch you. If they catch you, like speeding tickets. And I said, so you have to decide what you want to do with your budget, with your money. Do you want to maybe spend $50 on a ticket, or do you want to go to the movies? Or because all you got to do is wait 2 minutes for the light. Is it worth it? That? And he was just like, no more $50 tickets, you know, like, and he has that whole attitude. That's not what I'm doing with my money. You know, I want to be more aware. So I've noticed it. Yeah. It's fascinating.
So I'm in the process of getting a parenting book out, and one of the chapters is called Conversations Over Consequences, because a lot of us are parented from consequences are actually what's like parenting our children, and we were parented that way, so we think we need consequences for everything to keep them aligned into whatever we've decided needs to happen. And what I know, and what you guys display so beautifully, is these conversations are actually what gets them to the awareness of what they'd like to choose next time, to go, oh, I didn't see it that way. I was just aware that I could cross the street here. And now having the conversation, I get to look at my money. I get to look at my safety. I get to look at all these things. Thank you so much. But a lot of times what we do is we project a consequence on something. So then the kid learns to create themselves and their lives based on avoiding consequences, not on choice and what a new choice would actually create. And then we grow up as adults and we're like, I don't really know what I want to create with my life, because you've always been creating it from avoidance rather than presence. And so getting your kid to get present, just for those who are listening, get present and look at the choice. So we'll give a tool today. What you brought up, Christine, is one thing I talk about in my parenting classes is whenever a kid makes a choice, get an object, whatever you want it to be, and put it in the middle of the table and call it the choice. So this is the choice. And then you talk about the choice. You don't direct at the kid. So the kid doesn't have to, you're not being like, you're wrong, you're bad, you did something wrong. You're going, hey, what did this choice create? And what questions can we ask about it? And now it's all directed at the choice, so they know they can make a different one. So it changes the game, because it's not, and their choices don't have to be internalized to have to mean anything about them.
Exactly.
And I love that you guys are taking that one and creating with it. I would love to know, like, what are your go-to tools right now with parenting? Like, where does like
specifically?
Well, yeah, like, yeah. Well, no, all of them.
Well,
it's all different. There's 7
yeah,
of them.
it's all very. I try to use based on the choice that they're making, and this came up with Ben when we brought him up and had the after conversation. Okay, so this choice, I don't want to make the choice bad. I mean, would I have like was my goal in life for his first time to be with a prostitute against the wall in the metro? No, I'm going to be flat. No, that would not have been my first choice. However, he manifested that. He said, "This, I want to do this," and it became there. It was there. So, and you don't want to make okay. There's so many things to make bad about that decision. You had sex out in public. You had sex with a prostitute. All of the terrible things that could come out of that. Like, okay, we can't discuss any of that. He doesn't need to think that because that happened, oh, I'm going to get sick and this is going to be bad. I could get a terrible disease. He doesn't need to know it could, but he needs to be aware of what that choice, whether it would be an expansive choice or a constrictive choice. We had to learn that word yesterday. It's like, what's the opposite? So when we had that conversation in particular, was okay. So you had sex with this girl. Was that a choice that was expansive? Did it create more? And
It
he
was
like,
pretty expansive.
yeah. Yes. Like, okay. And I completely accept that for him. I was like, awesome. Yes, it did. Great. Now, if because it was outside, that's against society's rules to be able to do that in public. So that kind of consequence would be very constrictive. If the police get involved and you have to go to court or jail, that would be terrible, right? I said, is that an expansive choice? No. Okay. So you need to be aware when you make this choice of, and that's when we came into but doing it in private is 100% okay. So then you come to the choice, you ask about the hotel, and then you go through the whole process. I would say the create expansive or constrictive. That's the biggest one for me. We have another son, well, several, but we have another son whose goal is to play basketball. It's all he wants to do. It's like he will pick a school based on, did I make the basketball team, kind of a thing. And every day he makes different choices with regard to, am I going to practice my speech for this presentation or not, and I'm going to play more ball. It's like, okay, your call. I know that your end goal is ball, but if you don't graduate high school, you can't play ball. So that's always going to be a choice. Which one right now is more expansive? And
Yeah.
he said, well, I'm going to stay up late. I'm going to study and get my speech memorized so I can do my speech, and I'll do the training. It's a private training. So he says, I'll just push it back and I'll do it, later.
But that was a half hour to get to that.
But it was a half an hour because
he has to realize that you have, like, it's all choices. If I had studied on the weekend, I wouldn't have to move the basketball. Maybe there's some studying habits we can change.
Right.
Looking at that.
So it was a half an hour of going back and forth. Okay. He says, well, why would he think I would do it over the weekend? Because the presentation is Wednesday night and you had Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. That's why you would do that. And he said, well, yeah. I said, okay, but you made choices to go to basketball practice on Saturday and play in this game and then do this thing. And you made those choices. And I'm not saying they're bad choices or good choices. Now you feel unprepared to do this presentation, but you've already said you would do it. Now, could you choose to go in tomorrow and tell your teacher, I'm not doing the presentation I'm just not going to do it? He said, well, no, I told him I'm going to do it. I'm like, yeah, but you can change your mind. You're allowed to do that. You chose yes. You can choose no now. He says, no, I'm going to do it. I want to do it. Okay.
Yeah.
So he made these choices and didn't go to his private training on Wednesday morning, stayed up really late, memorized his speech, gave his speech yesterday afternoon in front of the auditorium of the class, and did not win, did not place in the top 3, but was absolutely the audience favorite. Like the first place, second place, third place. Josh erupted. Even his sister was like, everyone cheered for him. And their best friends are mortal enemies. So for her to say, they loved it. It was ludicrous that Josh didn't win. But
Yeah,
now
so
he thinks more about, okay, what is my choice right now going to bring me in tomorrow or the next day or the next day? Is it going to be more or is it going to be less?
the more that
So
we
that's
focus
the one I
on,
use a lot.
yeah, and the more that you focus on and she likes to talk too, like you can tell, but
As do I.
yeah, like in the stories and telling and parallels and all of that is also really good. I tend to use conversation a lot and reword what they have said, so uh we have our older son likes to stop at the convenience store, which is called the Dep here. If you need some Montreal lingo, going to the Dep, that's a 7-Eleven convenience store, and he likes to buy stuff there. And we were looking at his money habits, and he's spending $15-16 a day on junk food because he's got a job and lives at home and life is easy. And I said to him one day, he didn't have anything for dinner. He goes, but you have those pizza pocket boxes in the freezer. I said, oh yeah, I'll sell you one. I'll sell you one for $10. And he goes, that's extortion. I said, well, no, you're totally willing to buy a muffin and a can of Coke for $15. Why wouldn't you pay me? I went to the store and got it. And every time I do that, I see that step of, oh, and I watch, he's reduced his visits to the convenience store, and he asks, when are you going to the grocery store next? Because he's on a bus. So carrying a 24 can of pop is not fun for him, and it's very much part of being aware, but you have to be willing to take the time, and you have to be okay with them asking the same questions. Like every kid, it's not just because they have Asperger's or autism that they don't, have the same issues, but the question that comes up. And Donna asked him, why do you think the prices are made at the convenience store? And he says, oh, it's convenient pricing. I said, yeah, for the owner. For you, it's expensive. So the language that we use, and I repeating back, this is what I have heard. Is that what you meant to say? So that we can, is that the choice that you're making, or is this? And that's the language a lot. And I've noticed that I don't honor my time, but I realize that I freely give it away. And this access process has really been about, hey, I want to have this conversation with you now, but maybe 11:30 on a Tuesday night isn't the right time. And being aware that maybe 11:30 on a Tuesday is the only time, right? So knowing when you have to make that call and go, what is it that you want to talk to me about now? And can this wait? Or if I don't do it now, have I missed this chance to be that influence and give them the opportunity to do it? That's one of the major ones. And I think one of the tools that, what is the value for them? So there's a bit of manipulation in that, like a lot of manipulation, but what is the value for you? You want to take my car to go do your thing. Well, did you take the recycling out? These are things that make me say yes much easier, so that we teach each other a little bit about that respect. But what's the value for them? And I think you mentioned on a call, like the end goal for your husband was that the room was clean. Are you willing to pay for that to happen? Because it's not important to them, but if it's important to you, are you willing to get the result? And it's not something I had heard, but since you've mentioned it, there's a lot of parents, and now I'm aware of people doing that. It's like, oh, my daughter won't eat her lunch, so I give her $25, she's 6, 25 cents in her savings if she eats her lunch. It's not an immediate, but she likes seeing the savings grow, so she eats her lunch, and in the end, everybody gets what they want by meeting that, what's the immediate thing. And the last, because Donna likes to talk, so I have to make up for it. But my favorite one
She
is
hates talking, hates it. Can't you tell?
It acts so fast because you don't unpack the past, right? So that phrase, I liked it so much, I made my own meme out of it, put it on my Facebook. And you use the example that you came in, did groceries, and you forgot a grocery bag, right? And it's been 2 weeks and you had fresh whatever that's now brown. And are you going to look at it and go, ooh, what can we save? And no, you're just going to take it and get rid of it and move on and go, darn, I lost that $12 or whatever it was. And access gives you the right to every day, every hour, every minute, if you want it, is a different, you can choose to do something different. And saying that, I have to it's got to be okay. So I work on allowance a lot, that everybody else can choose different, but I can choose. That's no problem for this control freak, but for other people to choose also how you want to spend your time. So we try and do that, and just try and be à l'écoute. In French, it means like to be ready to listen. Just to be ready to choose to listen, I think makes a difference in our house. And then we have enough kids plus all their friends and all their numbers. We're up to 11. We're auditioning for 12, and we have a 5A and a 7A. So it's good in our house.
Amazing. Well, I am so grateful that you guys were willing to come on and expose this, chat about it, and like truly, but inspire people to know that they can look from a different place. And if our jobs as parents weren't to judge our kids into some version of what you think a good kid is, how much more free would we be to inspire and empower them to be the kid that they actually are? And what I know with my kids is the more that I allow them choice, and like you mentioned, Christine, like other people, like you could choose and they could choose, I get to know more about who they actually are. And they don't have to hide as much from me because they're confident in the fact that I won't judge them. And I really think that that's one thing that most of us parents are missing out on, is actually getting to know these beings, because you have a version of them that you want to know, or you want to create, or you want to turn them into. And every time you do that and you use your parental control to do that, you miss on what is actually true and real for them. And so I just love exploring this with other parents. I'm really, really grateful to get to see what you guys are creating with these tools. I can't wait to be there next month.
It's super close. It's not even long. The weather will be better. We're going to try and make that happen for you. Tell Mother Nature that Sarah's practicing with her scarf to come to Montreal. Yeah. And I don't want to forget bars, because I think it's one of the basics. Conversations while you're doing bars. It's phenomenal, the exponential speed at which stuff gets cleared away, and it helps them get through those things. And I love seeing them not want to do it because they know what it's going to do. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I don't.
I'm all right. It's fine. But it's more fun to have them come in and then ask for it. We don't have a lot of them that'll do that. But every once in a while, we'll get, have you heard the way I'm treating Billy? It's not, I should come in. Can you run my bars? I need to have you run my bars.
Or we have some meltdown because, it's not perfect. I said it's 6% and we're still working on it. But sometime we'll have some big argument and it's like, just go to your room. I can't deal. And that same kid will come up like half an hour later and go, do you think you could run my bars? Like, the amazing trust that we've created for them to come up and feel comfortable to do it and know that we're doing it. Yeah. Let me go to the bathroom. I don't care. There's nothing more. I'll run your bars. And that is, or she will. That's the joy too of both of us doing it. And, but yeah, don't forget that one. If you guys are on here and you don't know what bars are, reach out to anybody that's on the Access site to find out about it. But the amazing bringing the barriers down and just allowing that openness it's such an amazing tool that we have on top of all the other great ones. And when's the book coming out?
It's in final stages. We're going through it now. So
okay, awesome, because I can't wait to read that too.
Thank you. All right, guys, thank you so much. Thank you everybody for joining. And if you want more parenting stuff, we do a parenting call every month. And
come play with us in March.
And play with us in March in Montreal.
Bodies want to play in Montreal.
And what else is possible?
Woohoo!